disappointing that there isn't one perfect candidate. I went and listened to Trump last Tuesday, and I like that he's honest, but a lot of my friends being in New Hampshire, they're like, we love Bernie. So I'm like, okay, I got to give Bernie a fair shot.
So great to hear from these different voters. You know, independent voters here in New Hampshire are apparently having a tough time deciding between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. You heard me correctly. Independents can register as undeclared in today's primary and vote for either party. And let me tell you, there are a lot of them. More than 40% of the registered voters here in New Hampshire are undecided. So what is it about these two candidates in particular who seem like polar opposites that's actually attracting similar voters? Let me bring in Cassie Spodak, who has been our New Hampshire embed. And I think it's interesting just to explain to people at home, CNN has sent people like you to sort of live in New Hampshire, get the feel on the ground, South Carolina, Iowa. So you've been here for a while, and one thread you've noticed that people are vacillating between Trump and Sanders. How is that possible?
Well, so when I looked into this story, I talked to both their campaigns, and something they both talked about is that they're not beholden to special interests, that they're focusing on average Americans. They don't have super PACs. They're not looking for donors who, you know, have lots of money who they're going to be beholden to also. And so that's something that voters are attracted to in them.
Did that surprise you when talking? I mean, covering politics, that people are torn between those two. Does it make sense to you or still baffle you?
I think it does, because when you talk to voters that are undeclared, that's really important to them, that they can vote in either election, and they're thinking about candidates based on that person and not on their party. There's kind of a feeling against parties here. I think against being solidly in the Democratic Party or Republican Party. They like just.
You know, we have heard from the Secretary of State, who is anticipating this record turnout today, about basically, I think, north of 500,000 voters. And if they do get this record turnout, which candidates does that benefit the most, do you think?
So what matters specifically is which ballots these undeclared voters decide in. You can get high turnout overall, but high turnout within the undeclareds to either party is what's going to make a difference. So if you have undeclared voters turning out in higher numbers in the Republican primary, that's going to give Governor John Kasich a boost. He could actually go to second place in one of the polls that we saw from WBUR.
As someone who has lived in New Hampshire, who has set up camp here for the last 8 months, what is the one thing you're watching for tonight?
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, I think that the voters are really making up their minds at the last second, and so it's going to be, you know, like, what are the issues that they care about the most? And I think it's like a gut decision for a lot of them. And so I think they're going to be thinking about the debate. They're going to be thinking about, you know, these final closing messages from the candidates and how long they've spent in New Hampshire. Voters really care about that.
You know, talking to people here, and it's about to change, but when you talk to people in New Hampshire, it's not, you know, have you met any of the candidates? It's, oh, well, I've talked to Bernie Sanders twice, and Hillary Clinton came, knocked on my door once, and, you know, I mean, that's how it is here in New Hampshire that makes it so special, and I think why people take it so seriously.
That's true, and I think that I've covered so many town halls here, and you'll hear voters say, I've asked this question of 3 other candidates, I want to hear your answer.
It's incredible.
Last night when I was at Christie's town hall, there was a voter who said, I asked Bush the same question, you had a better answer, now you have my vote. So they really are going straight to the candidates and asking them these questions.
Okay. Cassie, thank you so much.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Our embed here in the great state of New Hampshire, and her article is posted on CNN.com.